talk a little bit at this point about how you might. We've already worked with user attributes a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about how you might get a file into a concrete5 installation from within a custom form like this. You know, many of you are probably familiar with how PHP file uploading works. Super simple. You can drop files into directories on your server and store them that way. But concrete5 has a really, really powerful file manager that I think more people should know about some of the stuff that it can do. You can run custom routines when different types of files are uploaded. You can automatically generate thumbnails from images. You can group files and sort by them and put them in sets and work with them programmatically. A lot of work's gone into making the file manager both easy to use and also pretty powerful. And it's definitely, if you're using files in a concrete5 site, it's highly, even if you're building custom interfaces, it's highly recommended that you use the built-in file manager to store them. And so I'm going to walk through how you might do that. So we're going to add a file upload to this form. I'm going to use the form helper again. And we're going to call this, what will we call this? My image. So I've got a file input here. Next thing I want to make sure to do is I want to make sure to add this to my form. This is not concrete5 specific. This is just basic PHP stuff. You need to add enc-type multi-part form data to your form anytime you upload files. It's PHP 101, but you know, it can still bite you. So I would definitely make sure that you add that to your form. And let's upload a file at this point. Let's find something that's a good one. Themes. No. No, that's not really what I want. Oh, goodness. All right, we're going to just grab something from within the concrete directory itself. That looks good. Newsflow logo, welcome back. Okay. Now, when I hit save on this, it's going to go into my update_color function, and I'm still going to be updating the color here. What I want to do is I want to output the array, the files array, just so I can refresh everyone's memory as to how this works. Whoops, let's go back there. There we go. So, more PHP 101 stuff. My files array has it's an associative array. It's my_image is the key, and then there's a name, which is the name of the file as it originally was uploaded. There's a type. Well, that's not that useful because we automatically get the type later. And then there is the location, the temp name. So Normally what you would do is you would copy this into a directory manually and store the data somewhere. You don't have to do any of that stuff with concrete5. Instead, all you have to do is instantiate. What you first do is you load up the file importer library. Then you create an instance of the file importer object. You run the import function, and the first item that you pass is the path to the file, and the second is the name of the file. And we get this pretty easily. Files, what's the name of it? My_image temp name. You can see that up here, standard PHP stuff. And then name of file is just name. And this function, if it works correctly, returns an object that is analogous to the file object in the file manager. So let's go back and let's save it. Color saved successfully. Let's take a trip to our file manager. You can see Newsflow logo welcome back.ping has been added to the file manager. And since it's been added to concrete5, we have all this information about it, including how big it is. We can give it a new title if we want to. We can give it description. We can give it tags. And we know the width and the height. We can also add different file attributes to this, the same way that we add user attributes. So there's a lot of pretty nice things that we can do with that. I'm going to delete that real quick. Let's try something a little outside the box. Let's add another user attribute. Let's say I want to add a user attribute for my favorite color picture. And I want to add this as a file type. Well, you see image/file is an attribute type that we've added to concrete5, but it's not showing up in the user attributes section. So what we want to do is we want to add that somehow. So we're going to go to Systems and Settings. We're going to go into Attribute Sets, and we're going to add image file as a type that we can add in the user section. And we're going to go back to User Attributes. And we're going to call this my favorite, whoops, no we're not. We're going to call this favorite color picture. And since this is a file type, if I go into my users, I can actually edit the user, and when I do that, I get a file picker that I can actually pick files, and it will save file objects against a user. And so now, as you can imagine, if I come here and I select something, this would be a blue picture, something along those lines, although I don't really have something like that. Let's try a rating star. That sounds nice. I'm already uploading my file object when I do update color. So let's move this stuff into here. And I'm already setting the attribute for favorite color. Let's copy this favorite color picture. And it's not a post anymore. It's actually my file object, because when you set attribute, we look at sort of the native type of the thing that you're working with. Since favorite color picture is a file type attribute, you can pass a file object as the second object to set attribute, and it will transparently work. Let's cross our fingers that that's actually the case. Haven't done this type of thing in a while. Make sure that I named this correctly. Favorite color picture. And we'll head back to choose your favorite color. I think that rating star is definitely my favorite color picture. If I go into files, I can see that my image is added to the file manager. And if I go into users, I can see that rating star is correctly associated with my user account. So in that simple amount of time, we've actually created a custom form that can use the custom attributes to attach data to a user object, and basic data like just some text, and also some sort of more advanced, more exotic data like the file. Does anybody have any questions about that? I imagine there might be some out there. Any questions about how to manipulate file data or more attribute-related stuff? Want to talk a little bit about, see some questions coming through that I will get to momentarily. Talking a bit more about these concrete5 helpers, it occurs to me that a sort of a custom helper, or a helper that we have in the core that's a little bit more, there might be a helper more suitable to what we're demonstrating in the core. This is a good example of our form helpers are not just in the core, not just the kind of standard ones, standard HTML ones. We have some more exotic ones. And so let's keep this form helper here, but let's add an instance of the color picker. So this is a helper that is found within form/color. And let's swap out. We'll keep this one around. Color for this. H color. And I actually don't recall the exact API for this, so I'm going to take a look in my color namespace. Looks like the only method here is output. And takes a couple different parameters. The first, much like the other forms, is the name that will be posted to. The second, it looks like, is a field label. So I'm going to call that favorite color. And now we're going to try this. Go back to choose your favorite color. And you can see I have a color picker. And I can find my favorite color. It's a nice sort of dark green looking color. That looks pretty nice. If I save this, let's see what it outputs. Nothing. That's less exciting. Well, let's do some debugging. First thing we want to do is check to see what the post looks like. Looks like it did. There is color in there. Oh, duh. Apparently one needs to actually print out the color before it does not magically know that you want to actually print it out. So as you can see, the post works exactly the same way it did before when it was a text element, but it's passing the hex color behind the scenes. And so what I can do is I can save this in exactly the same way I used to. In fact, it doesn't even require any different code. If I save this and look at my user account, you can see it is saving my favorite color as hex. And if I go back to choose your favorite color and pass favorite color in as the third parameter, it will pre-populate my swatch as the color that it needs to be. So that's an example of using a bit more of a little bit more interactive helper. And there are a number of them. There's rating. You can choose a concrete5 page, a concrete5 user. There's a calendar, date time, and in addition to the built-in HTML widgets. Now let's get to some questions. Oscar asks how one might place files in sets. That's an excellent question. As we are, it's a perfect question for this type of thing too, because as we're doing this, you know, you can easily go to the members section and see that Rating Star was added as a favorite color picture. But once you come to the files, you know, it's not. There's just by default your files are. It's every file in your system, sort of like Google Mail works or something along those lines. So what we really ought to do is create a file set for all of these. Favorite color picks. And now that I've got this, I can search for files in those sets. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to manually add this to the set just to keep it all nice and organized. And I'm going to modify my code here to put a file into the set. If is object my file object. This is important because if the upload fails for some reason, or if they don't provide an image, we don't want to try and put an empty file into a set. And then, so now what we do is we call file set get by name favorite color picks. Let's be certain that that is the exact API method. All file set related stuff is found within the file_set.php model. It's automatically, actually I don't know that it's automatically loaded, so let's make sure that it is. Whenever you want to load something in the models directory, you call loader : model, the same way that we called loader : library to get into the libraries directory. You want to call it that way as opposed to require, because you want to call it that way so that concrete5 can take a look into your local directory and include an updated version of the library if you have forked that particular library or model class. So we'll go into file set. There's get by ID, but more importantly, there's get by name, which is good because I can hard code favorite color picks as the name of my file set. And then let's make sure that we know what the API method is. I believe it's add file to set, which it is. Add file to set my file object. And I believe with that code there, any files uploaded through my favorite color form will be added to the appropriate set. So let's add something a little bit prettier. Let's add the starfish. Now if I go to admin, you can see that starfish is my favorite color picture, which is good. And if I go to my file manager, it shows up at the top here. But if I look in favorite color picks, it has also automatically been added to that set. And more importantly, perhaps, I can show files not in any sets if I want to keep the favorite color pictures from showing up. So that's kind of nice. There's currently no way to show files not in favorite color picks, but that might actually be kind of a nice thing as well. So that is how one programmatically adds files to a set. Tom asks, does it log which user uploaded the file, or can we set permissions? I then want to allow non-admin users to manage their own uploaded images using Concrete Asset Library. Yeah, the file manager does allow quite a bit in the realm of permissions. By default, this is a site that does not have advanced permissions enabled. But by default, you can protect it with a password or move a file out of the web root. It does also log who uploaded it. So this was added by admin here. All files are version controlled. So if someone came along and updated the version of this file, it would keep track of who did that. And more importantly, for what you're talking about, if you enable advanced permissions on this site, you can control who has access to edit files in the file manager to a very, very complete degree. You can add different groups, add users. You can say that administrators can add files, they can edit files, but they can only edit files they upload. They can administer files that they upload. And then in the next version of Concrete, which is a fairly major under the hood upgrade coming later this summer, the permissions are getting a massive change that will give you even much greater control even, and make it a little bit more, make them a bit easier to understand. But for example, this starfish, you could even go, now that we have advanced permissions enabled. Well, that's interesting. Did I change this back? No. Maybe oh, I typed this wrong. Since we have advanced permissions enabled, you can actually even go to the file itself and you can say, I only want to allow administrators to see this file. You can control who sees it in the file manager with the search parameter, who can edit it or change its permissions. So you could add a user here and say, I only want Joe to be able to, I want everyone to be able to see the file on the site. I want administrators to be able to edit it. I want Joe to be able to edit it but not change its permissions, that type of thing. Faust asks, I can definitely switch back to the code, sure. There will also be a video of this as well. But I will linger on this controller code as well. I think Matt might be able to make some of this code available as well. Faust asks, does concrete5 magically take care of cleaning our post data, or do we need to worry about that? Could you be a little bit more specific? We don't, you know, as we do these, this is sort of application centric. So you'll notice I've been updating my admin account, and it's changing the attribute for color on the account. But every time I upload a new file, I've actually added a new one. So you would probably want to figure out a way to remove old copies of the image or the file if a user changes them. Oscar asks, can you set those types of permissions to sets or when you upload files? Yes, you can. With advanced permissions, it gets a little complicated since files can appear in multiple sets, but you could say every file in the favorite color pick set, since we have actually since we've enabled advanced permissions on the site, we can enable custom permissions for that file set that says administrators can view these files, but they can only edit their own files. Or, for example, you might say registered users can search their own files that are found in these sets and edit those files. They cannot admin them. They currently don't have an add permission, but that's even though we've been adding files, that's because since this is all custom code, permissions are ignored here. They're because I'm scripting this, but this controls the permissions at the UI level, and you could certainly build in permission checks here too. It's just you'd have to write your own code.